his potential disconnection from his daughter Rebecca.
Right. I've just explained again. It's another Scientology term, isn't it? Disconnection.
Disconnection, yes. Where a formal disconnection is when your family doesn't support your membership of the cult. They are forced to fill in an official document and send it to you, and in that document it denies you any access to your daughter or whoever in the cult, and it also offers legal status in that it's harassment to try to contact them and things like that. Tony isn't at that stage, but he's very afraid of being at that stage. And Rebecca, despite stating that she's out of Scientology, she recently told Tony that she isn't, and she is still buying the books and reading. So he's petrified. I know Leigh very well too. AnonGleeb and I and a couple of others went down to Plymouth to do a fly protest, and obviously we've met all the protests in Manchester. Right. But for me, the reason I called in really is I want to highlight that it's not just a sinister cult, it's a very dangerous cult, and it's also a deadly cult. I first discovered Scientology by chance on Wikipedia when I came across the death of a girl, 35-year-old girl called Leigh. I've not been listening to your show, and I don't know what's been talked about, so if I'm repeating, please tell me.
You know, we didn't mention the Lisa thing, but I did mention one section of that. People won't be familiar that it was actually linked, but this was the millionaire banker who spent $10 million after that death with the Lisa McPherson Foundation or whatever it's got.
Bob Minton.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then the Scientology organisation spent $40,000 on discrediting him, and suddenly changed his story and he was speaking on their behalf.
Well, what happened was, one of their policies is because they don't believe, because their basic belief is that 70 million years ago an alien race was destroyed on Earth. All of man's problems, all his psychiatric problems, all his diseases are caused by the attachment of these alien ghosts.
Yeah.
So the only way to get rid of these alien ghosts is through auditing and through Dianetics.
Which is basically psychology.
It's pretty crazy. But, so that's why they don't accept modern medicine. Now, Leigh McPherson is the textbook case, because what they did is she started showing signs of mental breakdown. She also told her family she was going to leave that fall and she'd be home for Thanksgiving and Christmas. She went to hospital. Scientologists turned up and told the hospital staff that it's against her religion to receive psychiatric treatment. They locked her in a room alone for 17 days without food and denied her water.
Without food and water?
Yes, and without any verbal contact. They were not allowed to speak to her either.
She wouldn't have lasted for 17 days without water?
No, they gave her some water and vitamins. They denied her food, they gave her some water and some vitamins. She lost 45 pounds in weight in 17 days. When eventually, after 17 days, they realised there was an extremely serious problem, and they took her. There was a hospital around the corner. They didn't take her there. They didn't take her to the next one. They didn't take her to the one after that. They took her to the one after that, which was 45 minutes away, to a Scientologist doctor. She was dead on arrival. She was covered in. She was totally dehydrated. She was completely emaciated, and she was literally covered in cockroach feeding sites, hundreds of them all over her body. Now, these post-mortem photographs have been released on the internet. I'm a doctor of neuroscience, and I've attended many post-mortems, and none have affected me in the slightest. But when I saw the post-mortem photographs of Leigh McPherson, I was absolutely, I was devastated. I've never seen anything so distressing. I saved them to my laptop. but I couldn't actually save them in a folder because of the icon. Even the icons frightened me. I saved them in a folder, and gradually got used to looking at them. I gradually read more and more about the Lisa McPherson story and realised basically that they'd killed her, literally. What happened was, it was the medical examiner, Joan Wood, said that she died of a pulmonary embolism due to dehydration, which is a reasonable diagnosis if your blood is so thick and gloopy because there is, it's not liquid enough. You will get a blood clot. The Scientology, Joan Wood had, they fair game you if you have any crimes, anything, skeletons in your closet. They will target you. They will threaten you, and they will expose you. And they targeted Joan Wood. They fair gamed her, and they made her change her decision from basically from murder to accidental death. The case collapsed, and the prosecution was dropped. But the family took out a civil prosecution, which was successful. But one of the conditions of that was that the value was not disclosed. Now, there's a website called www.whyaretheydead.net, which has hundreds of Scientology-related deaths on it, and they range. There's a whole panorama because they deny. Rachel's friend, to pick one, died of cancer. They told her that her cancer treatment was useless, and the only way she could get rid of the tumour was by talking to the alien ghosts and then removing it. They promised a cure. Eventually, she realised it was terminal, and she released her story to the press. The Rachel Friend story is out there. You can Google it and read about Rachel Friend. I've got it up on my YouTube account, the video, Cancer.
I have actually read into that.
You've read that, yeah. Epilepsy. People have died of grand mal seizures because they deny epileptic.
Can I ask you a question? In your opinion, we talked about before how people could be attracted to it. Certain people, if you're a school-bin boy, you wanted someone to support you in some way. What do you think attracts people to Scientology? Because there's such a race, a different mix of people that are attracted to it, aren't they?
There are a whole range. You can be 16, you can be 100. I know people of all ages. It's the promises.
But listen. If I'm a film star and I'm doing very well, thank you very much, financially and in every aspect of my life, why in the...
Well, can I start at the young end and
Okay.
move on?
Okay.
The youngsters, teenagers, students, they're promised, if they study Dianetics and they do these courses that cost several £100, they will be promised an IQ increase of at least 50 points and the perfect memory.
Okay.
So if you're a student going to university, you're going to be attracted by that because you get an advantage over your...
Absolutely.
They then brainwash you into believing in Thetans and the Xenu story, the alien ghost story, and they tell you that the only way to clear yourself of these alien parasites and become free, totally free. And totally free means you have supernatural powers. You can astrally project your body anywhere in the universe. You're telekinetic, you can make things move with your mind. You're telepathic, you can read people's minds. They promise you the knowledge of God. You have the ability to be a God. You can create your own universes. You can transfer through dimensions. All these amazing promises, and people are suckered in by them. And another reason is Jason Begay, when he left, he gave them $1 million. He said in his initial interview to Mark Bunker, the very first interview he gave after he left after 11 years. He said, once I'd invested $100,000 in it, it seemed valuable to me, and I felt as though I couldn't leave. I'd invested all this money. The Bridge of Freedom goes through, there's 7 levels, and when you reach level 7, that's when you are godlike, that's godlike status. He reached 5, and he finally realised, after $1 million, reaching stage 5, that he wasn't getting anywhere. He was getting no supernatural powers, he wasn't getting any better, and his mental health was actually getting worse. And he actually said there were people who were OT7. Now OT7 should be on parallel with God, and they were suffering from migraine.